lot for joining me today. It's truly a pleasure to have you here. Today's workshop is called Designing for Behavior Change. And the idea today is to leverage behavioral economics principles to design a mobile app that helps users have more sustainable shopping experiences. Before we move on, I would like to mention that I am recording this session, and by participating, you consent to the conditions that I will then be uploading this video on YouTube on my channel for later review. So just for you to keep in mind. Good. So the agenda today is the following. First, I'm going to give you an introduction of the event. We're going to have some brief networking, and then I will show you the framework, some key elements, and then the design challenge, what we will be designing for. And following to that, we're going to spend more or less an hour ideating using these behavioral economic principles, and we will close the session with a retrospective. So now, without further ado, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Johanny Pestalozzi. I come originally from the Dominican Republic, and I'm currently living in Switzerland. I am a designer, researcher, and project manager, and have more than 11 years of work experience in research, IT, nonprofit, and startup sectors. I'm very passionate about designing and strategizing human-centered interactions, and also passionate about exploring and identifying tools that can help us designers bring our craft further and also share this with others, like today. So, in my free time, I like reading, design, and innovation related books, hanging out in Meta's metaverse, also volunteering at TEDx Zurich, and then meeting friends and connecting and exchanging with people in the Miro community, like with you. So I would like to learn also about you. I have prepared this short introduction section. The idea is that you grab a sticky note, you write your name, your title or profession, your location, and the reasons why you joined this session. Let's dedicate 2 to 3 minutes to this, and then we wrap up and we exchange ideas together. Okay, so let me first, of course, share the board with you. So please go ahead, access it, and then we can start. Perfect. I see you are both here, so let me bring you to me. Good. So now you're in introduction. Let's dedicate 3 minutes initially, and then we can exchange ideas together. Let's go for it. Cool. So I see that your cursors are not moving too much, so I would understand that as you finished. So to save some time, I will then stop this. Great, perfect. So who would like to start introducing herself? Just feel free to unmute yourself and just share.
Hi, I can start. I'm Marinella. As I wrote in the sticky, I'm joining from Canada. I'm new to Miro actually just in the last year, and I'm really excited about using Miro. I'm used to doing more in-person kind of collaboration tools. And so I'm really falling in love with Miro more and more. And today I was just really intrigued by the topic around the user behaviors and economics, and anything under the sun related to UX stuff is fascinating to me. So Yeah, that's why I'm here today.
Cool. Happy to have you on board, Marinela. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mais. I'm a new senior product manager in Chicago. Part of being a senior product manager, I'll be handling Miro administration. So I'm looking forward to learning more about what Miro could do and what I can bring back to my company.
Awesome. Perfect. So thank you so much, Mais, also for joining us today. It's really great to have you here. I can see that you both have industry experience and can definitely contribute to the discussion today. So let's then move on directly into the framework. I would like to present you now some highlights of what this is about and what are these principles and then how this connects with design. So, first of all, behavioral economics tries to understand people's behavior and strategically intervene in pivotal or critical moments in which people have to make decisions to encourage people, in this case users, towards a desired behavior. So, first, understand why people are making certain decisions, and then how we can use science based principles to help them achieve a desirable behavior. So that's in essence behavioral economics. So different from service design or user experience design tools, um, that where designers try to map the entire user journey, going step by step, what are the different actions that the user takes and how the users are feeling, and then design something holistically. Behavioral economics tries to identify what are specific moments in which we could intervene with certain actions to help users accomplish what we want. Ideally, of course, something positive. So this is more or less the difference between service design, for example, or user experience design and behavioral economics. Service design is more general, it's more holistic. We design for an entire experience, and behavioral economics focuses on, or zooms in to a step, a moment in this experience to enhance that experience. That's more or less the difference. Please feel free to interrupt and ask questions if you have along the way. The idea is that we make this interactive, and also I'm very much interested in learning from you if you have something to contribute in a particular point today. So again, behavioral economics tries to understand people's behavior from a psychological, behavioral, emotional, and social point of view. Um, we try this field of science runs under the assumption that humans will not necessarily behave in the most rational manner. So that means that it may be difficult to predict. However, people have patterns of behavior, and this irrationality can be seen across people, across cultures, across situations, and that helps scientists to create patterns, principles, as we will see today. So, what we will see is essentially a collection of insights of what has been observed in people acting in specific conditions that are recognized as patterns, and therefore we can, in a way or other, understand why people behave in a certain way and also guide people by using the same principles to actions or better actions. So, behavioral economics, in summary, tries to help explain the cause of a situation and also help to predict on how to intervene in those moments and those actions. So, some you can have a look here at further details on how this field of science can help us in designing products and bringing products that can help us influence people's decision. Now, what is the value for us as designers, as product managers in using behavioral economics? First of all, it helps to identify new opportunities. So we identify moments in which we can influence, we can provide the conditions for users to do what we are interested in. That means that could be selling a product or increasing purchases or making the user feel more interested, whatever you call it, so but that's the essence. It helps us identify opportunities. The other value is that it helps us recognize or identify invisible barriers. Sometimes in our funnel analysis, we see where users break the experience, where they close the website, where they don't shop anymore, and we may not have a good understanding why that's happening. So behavioral economics helps us understand what are these potential barriers that may be limiting users from accomplishing what they're intended to do in our interfaces. And then it helps us maximize impact by using the right tools, the right principles. We can maximize the use of our applications and maximize the experience and provide something that is of value both for users and our business. Then it helps us also evaluate key features. If we want to kind of tweak and improve and enhance an application, we can do that through this field. And finally, it helps us test hypotheses to understand what are the different variations of a feature that may help us achieve what we are interested in our business. So where does behavioral economics sit? So this is a traditional design thinking approach. We have the understand, the explore, and materialize phase, as they call it. And it goes from empathizing, defining, ideating, prototyping, testing, and implementing a product. This is a traditional way in which product design is done in industry. So this toolkit, designing for behavior change, has two parts. Part one is placed between the ideation, the prototyping phase, and part two is placed between test and implement. So in part A, which is the one we will do today, we start identifying what are possible factors, in other words, biases that are influencing our users in their current behavior. And then we will identify principles that can help those users in changing their behavior into something that is more productive, more environmentally friendly, more sustainable, for example, in this case. That's what we're going to do today. And the second part is for testing features. So once we have identified ideated possibilities to improve our product, we then make A/B testing to see which of these variations of these possibilities are most suitable for achieving our goal. So that's in summary behavioral economics. That's how it is, where it sits in our product design process. And I would like now to briefly introduce you to our design goal. So as you know from the description of the event, we're gonna design a clothing mobile app to help users shop sustainably. It's a very simple, short statement. So you can think of this as Zara, H&M, or Spring. So you have these mobile apps, you have, people showcasing their products, clothing, and this is for you for inspiration so that you can place this product in your mind. So here are some sticky notes that describe what are the issues around this hypothetical case. So one is that regularly users buy affordable clothing that is not necessarily sustainable, although they care about having an environmentally friendly lifestyle, right? So on one hand, users care about the environment and about sustainability, but they constantly shop unsustainable products. Then, when completing the checkout, they often miss selecting the option to mitigate CO2 emissions. It's a few cents, but still people miss that part. And finally, frequently users need to return and rebuy products that don't fit them, causing more emissions in the entire shopping life cycle. So this process of returning products and buying again creates cycles of delivery that generate CO2 emissions. And these are the aspects that we want to address today. We will see what ideas we end up with, but that's more or less the challenge that we have for today. Does it sound good to you? Are you still
Sounds
there?
good.
Okay,
Yep.
great, perfect, perfect. Just checking in to see if you're still there or if you're sleeping. Cool. Hope it's not too boring. But yeah, so now this part is for you to see a hypothetical persona and user journey. So this is for you just for inspiration, for reference, so that you know we normally start with understanding, the human behind this technology, who we are designing for. So essentially, it's a young person with a university degree who is employed full time and has some frustrations. This person may buy groceries, may buy clothing, may buy kitchenware, etc. And essentially, that person wants to conveniently receive products at home without having to visit the shop. Um, they also want to know that the package is delivered reliably. They want to shop quickly and easily and save time and money, as well as reduce their environmental impact. Now, this user has some frustrations. So, one of them is that they don't get exactly the product that they order, but a substitute. Sometimes, this is a hypothetical case, okay? So, sometimes you receive the products in the wrong color or a mismatch and they need to return it, or spends a lot of time shopping in the physical shop, selecting products and comparing them. He's tired of a long working day, so needing to shop is a tedious thing. And then not finding the products he was looking for is a bit of a stress. So it's just for you to, place this person as a young person who wants a more comfortable lifestyle, but also cares about the environment. And a traditional user journey around this is first let me see, my computer is a bit slow. So first choosing an online shop platform, let's say Zara, H&M, etc. Then they browse for items, let's say pants, sneakers, etc. Then choosing an item, selecting it. If they're interested, then they add to cart, complete the checkout, and then they receive the product, so product delivery. So one additional step on this user journey could be, returning the product and rebuying and then receiving the product. So, but for the sake of this exercise, let's close it in product delivery. But you know that the issue is that users sometimes may need to return the product. So this is then our user journey. Now, what we're going to do now is essentially go through this use case. We want to design a mobile app, we have this in mind, that helps users buy more sustainably. And this toolkit has this canvas. And essentially, it starts with this section that it's called current state, which is what I just described to you. Then we have an ideal or future state, where we want to bring our users what behavior we want them to have. In between them, we have behavioral economic principles that describe the current behavior, then design implications that will be kind of rules that will guide us in the design process, and then an ideation phase for optimizing for a current or future application. So on this side, you have some more descriptions. If you're interested, you can have a look during the session. Just for you to see, an example of how this is applied in another use case. So before we go into the exercise itself, I wanted to introduce you to some key behavioral economics principles for designers. These are the top 5 most common or most common principles. And one of them is anchoring. So the first fact, number, or figure a person hears will bias their judgment and decisions down the line. So we need to then take this into account on what information we present first to users because that can create anchoring in them. Then we have default bias. People pick the easiest option to avoid complex decisions. So defaults are very tricky ones. Sometimes, for example, when we do the onboarding in a mobile app, we need to insert a language, a location, time. So to ease the process for users, for example, we can set defaults that we know our users are from. So using georeferencing, we can set those defaults for that, and that eases the experience. Now, set the default to your desired outcome would be something that could help users very much. Then friction costs. People can be deterred from taking action by seemingly small barriers. So having this in mind, we can remove small barriers to help or direct users to complete the tasks that they're intended to do with our application. Then the ostrich effect is that have fallen people who are worried they have fallen off track don't want to know how they're doing. It's kind of like, okay, I know I'm wrong, I know I'm not doing anything, so why should I care? That kind of mindset. So having that in mind, we can help users kind of understand that there's always opportunity to reset, for example, to correct their path and then come back to their ideal state or their ideal path. And finally, social proof. People want to be like everyone else and are heavily influenced by what they perceive everybody else is doing. People want to belong, they want to feel accepted. And in that sense, we can use this principle to highlight an action that we want our users to accomplish by showing them that many other people are doing that action and that if they want to kind of be part of the club, they could join it by taking that action. So these are five common behavioral economic principles that describe the behavior of many people, many users. Here you have a set of cards from this toolkit that include those five as well as others. And we're gonna have a quick review through them during our exercise, just for you to know that you can find them here. So now, the idea now is that we go through this table. So we have our current state. So, excuse me. So who we want to influence or our target users. So essentially, these are students and young professionals who do online shopping for home delivery. So here I added some images for you to illustrate the case. Then we have the key decisions that we want to influence. So essentially, we want them to buy, just one moment. Okay, so we want them to buy affordable clothing, to have an environmentally friendly lifestyle. We also want them to mitigate their CO2 emissions when they complete the checkout, and we also want to avoid or reduce the returns when they buy products. So the current outcomes of user decisions is, as we discussed previously, is that users tend to buy not necessarily the most sustainable, but rather the cheapest one. Then, when they complete the checkout, they miss selecting the option to mitigate CO2 emissions, and frequently they need to return products and rebuy because the product doesn't fit or because they don't like it anymore, and that generates a lot of emissions. So that's our current situation. Now, I would like to go through an ideation session with you to ideating that ideal future we want to have. We're going to start with this ideal future state. How might we? So what we do here is that we anchor our project into a strategic intention with a how might we statement that sums up our primary goal. So we're going to dedicate now 5 minutes for you to start brainstorming how might we see a future for these users to be more sustainable in their shopping experience. So you have your sticky notes. You can select them and then press Ctrl D if you want to duplicate it, or just take it and then bring it up here to this section. So if you're ready, then let's go for it. So I will dedicate 5 minutes initially, and then we can discuss in the group. Let's start. So feel free to write as many ideas for this ideal future as you like. So you can place as many sticky cards as you like. And below here you have an example visually so that you get an idea of how this may look like. Okay, time's up. Do you need some more time, or is this enough? Okay, so I don't hear much. Okay, fine, perfect. Good. So let's discuss what you presented. Let's do it this way. Just essentially, you can unmute yourself and just say aloud what you indicated in the sticky notes.
I can share what I wrote. I'm not sure if it's the right,
Mhm.
like the right intention. I wrote that creating a platform that maybe like easy navigation and not as cluttered, so users feel happier to use it again and not feel overwhelmed.
Mhm.
The second one I wrote is like find the right clothing for customers. I guess that would be based on data and fit, so we can reduce the return and rebuy.
Mhm. Perfect. Thanks. So there is another sticky note here.
Yeah, that one was mine. So hopefully I did this right because I missed a couple minutes in between. But I focused on the journey component where the users are choosing and feeling good about their products.
Mhm.
So it looked there were opportunities to make that more of an improvement area, and
Mhm.
particularly around there were some notes around comparison shopping. So that is absent in many online shopping sites with the exception of more technology products.
Right.
So non-technology spaces, this would almost be a differentiator. So if they're comparing, you know,
Right.
anything else, this would help them in, reducing ambiguity as well, which is, I think, mentioned in confusion and so forth in other areas.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Great. So thanks a lot for your contributions. Now, what we will do is essentially keep this in mind. This is our North Star. This is what we will be designing for. Just keep in mind that this is not a traditional design thinking session. So kind of like start ideating features in general on how to address the pain points of users, but rather identify a point in this user experience to which we can leverage behavioral economic principles to improve their experience. So as we said initially, we want to focus very much in the sustainability part and these issues that we addressed, that users are not shopping sustainably. And although many aspects you mentioned, like making an easy platform to use, can lead to buying more sustainably. So we will just keep these ideas in mind, just to for you to remember, our intention is to bring this together to start ideating on features to help users in that regard. Now, the second part of this future state includes a now I, so that new outcome. So the idea is that we write sentences. You can use, again, sticky notes from below and bring them here. And then write sentences of what users will be able to do in the future and what will be the outcome of them doing that behavior. Is that clear?
Can you re-explain what?
Yeah, so I can actually provide an example from here. So this was a use case that was intended to help people, low-income people, to spend less and save more money. So in this case, they said, now I use the Credit Human app to set aside money for bills and expenses as soon as I get paid. Then, so that I always have enough to cover my bills and can check the app to accurately see what's available to spend instead of doing mental accounting. So the idea is to help the user say, okay, what they can do now so that they can accomplish an outcome. So let's just try this because I also need to grab a jacket quickly. Sorry about that. But the idea is that you say, okay, what will happen? You envision the future state of the user. And you say, now what the user can do so they can accomplish an outcome. So let's dedicate 5 minutes while I get a jacket and then I will be back to you. I will add 2 more minutes to this because it's an essential one to help us in the ideation later. Perfect. So the time is up. I need to finalize writing this. Just 1 second. Cool. So how did it go? How did you find this exercise?
It was good. I think like if we like had more background about what the app is and like more details, I probably would be able to find more behaviors.
Yeah.
But from what I learned like so far, um, that's what I came up with.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's normal, but it's like the first taste of this tool just to see how it works. And I'm sure that later on, if you find this useful and you use this in your work, you will have more opportunity to look at it in depth. So, but I think it's just perfect as we're doing now. We have some ideas written here, so I would like to give you the opportunity to present what you wrote, what could be future behavior of users to achieve what outcome in this sustainability shopping app. So, who would like to start?
Um, I wrote that with this app, I can find more accurate measurements, so I can for my size, so I don't have to take back what I bought if I have the right sizes.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is if I find a place that has sustainable clothing, I don't have to go to multiple places to find it, so I can just go to that one stop shop.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Good. So then the next sticky notes.
Yeah, this is I wrote that's the one yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, we cannot hear you. I'm not sure, mine's if you're gonna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I already went through both of them. Like one is more accurate measurements, and the other one I wrote is the one with sustainable clothing options in one place.
Right. Okay.
But yeah,
Good. Perfect.
thank you.
So Yeah, sure. Sorry. So Marinella, then would you like to present your sticky notes?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the themes on all of these are quite similar. So the one I had was around being confidently able to buy the right products the first time so that I can be more sustainable by eliminating and reducing the need to return items.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Good. Okay, so I think the rest of the sticky notes are mine. I just didn't even recognize them. Okay, but it looks pretty much similar. But yeah, now I can find affordable, sustainable products so that I can buy more environmentally friendly. So the idea here is to, combine cheap and sustainable. Then now I don't need to think about selecting CO2 mitigation so that I can shop, so that my shopping experience is carbon neutral. That's the idea. Um, So I'm trying to highlight like the key points so that it helps us later. And then the final one is now I can wear beautiful and sustainable clothing so that I can be part of the sustainability club, something around that. So as you can see, this tool kind of places us in the future and leads us into identifying patterns of behavior that helps people be there where we want them to be. So normally in a business context, we may have, business goals, metrics that we want to achieve. So that could be more sales, more recognition, more recommendations or advocacy, etc. You may call it, different ways. But ultimately, they translate into users' behavior with our digital product. And the idea now is to use these behavioral economics principles, patterns, to guide users into accomplishing this behavior that ultimately reflects into our business. So what we'll do now is go into then the behavioral economic principles. We have been discussing them so much, so we will finally go into them. So now what we will do is we will start with this part here. Behavioral economic principles that may be influencing the current user behavior. So the current behavior is that users are not shopping sustainably. They choose cheaper ones. Then they miss selecting the mitigate CO2 mitigation option when they're in the checkout. And then they frequently need to return and rebuy products that don't fit them, increasing the CO2 emissions. So we will select principles from this side. Um, Here we have the behavioral economic principles cards. And what we will do is essentially you can select them. If you select them and then press Ctrl D, you duplicate them, and then you take that duplicate and bring it to the table that we have here. So you can switch between point and select by pressing H or V, and in that it helps to quickly navigate from one side to the other. Let me just maybe make it simpler. I will just place it on this side so that it's less navigation for you. So again, just Control D, it duplicates the card, and then select the cards that you believe describes why users may be having this behavior, that they are not choosing sustainable clothing, they select the cheapest one, and that they may selecting mitigating CO2 and then are constantly rebuying and returning. So let's dedicate initially 5 minutes to this so that you can, identify card. Let's say as a target at least one card. If you have more time, then go for two or more. But just focus at least on one card that you think may explain the current user behavior. So let's go for it. So try to refresh the board. I removed the lock function. So essentially you just need to select the card. You can look now at the screen, select, then you press Ctrl D and it duplicates for you. All right, so time is over. So let's see what we found. So, oh, we have here. Okay, so I guess we don't need this huge arrow. We have here some cards. Let's do this very spontaneously. Feel free to unmute yourself and just describe the cards that you selected.
The first one I think was the one selected by me, which was around default bias. So it's basically doing what they're used to doing because they want to avoid complex decisions.
Mhm. Did you select only one or did you select any other?
I selected only one because you guys were actively doing all the rest.
Okay, I understand.
But I agree with the rest.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so in these exercises, we are limited in time. We will not be able to go into like in-depth discussion. So, but for now, it's just for you to feel like to see how it works and how what to look at in these patterns. And ideally, it is intended that you go and do some kind of more detailed research into each one of these patterns, these principles, and maybe some case studies to see how it actually works and better understand if it helps indeed describe what your users are doing. So, but for now, for the sake of the exercise, this is all fine. So, Mais, if you would like to describe some of the cards that you selected, would be great.
Sure. I chose hurting. It's when people tend to do what others are doing. I'm guilty of that.
Mhm.
Sometimes I hear that people are like shopping on a specific website or something. I get
Mhm.
very intrigued and I basically, you know, get curious and
Mhm.
just get what they're getting. I also chose the what the hell effect. I think once once there's not enough resources or kind of accountability, we lose track on things. So I think
Mhm.
that's a big part of it.
Mhm. Very interesting.
I think those are the ones I chose. I also chose the scar. I think that was me. Scarcity mindset. Like
Mhm.
people are scared. Again, it's like the same thing. It's when you don't have the enough resources, the money or time. It's
Mm,
not something that you would make as a priority.
right.
So that's the fun part of it.
Mhm. Cool. Very interesting. So you also have decision paralysis, or
Not me.
yeah?
Oh, okay. Well,
Mhm.
that also makes sense because when you have too many options, um, it's kind of hard to make the choice because you would have to actually invest time in
Right.
doing your research and finding out between those 100 options what you really want to use.
Mhm.
So I think that's kind of hard
Yeah.
to which brings me like to the hurting. I think like they're kind of like consequential together
Mhm.
because sometimes when I'm not able to make a decision, I usually just reach out to my friends and see what they're doing and I
Cool.
and if they give me good recommendation, I just go with it.
Yeah, I understand. Cool, cool. So then you got it. So that's essentially it. Now what we're doing is essentially trying to describe with these principles why we think our users are behaving the way they do. So as I mentioned previously, in real life, what you do is that you go in depth and investigate these principles, maybe look for use cases for your specific product to see if it indeed reflects or describes what you are experiencing. Now, we're going to do something similar for the future state. So, what we're going to do is taking into account this new behavior that we described here and the how might we statements around sustainability, around finding affordable products, having more accurate measurements, etc. Having those things in mind, we're going to select principles that we think can help us accomplish this new behavior. So let's dedicate equally 5 minutes to this, and then we do a quick wrap up in the group. So let's go for it. How can we influence users into doing this using these principles here? So using their own biases, their own way of being to accomplish what we want. Well, so we have a bunch of cards. I think for the sake of time, it's a good thing. So I would like to stop it now so that we have some more time for the rest of the exercise. So who would like to start?
I can go. I put pre-commitment and relativity.
Mhm,
I think like a pre-commitment can help people be more accountable in the goals they're trying to determine. So that's definitely like, um,
mhm,
yeah, that's something could help. And also relativity. I think it's very important, like to find something that's like something similar to what you're looking for. So
mhm.
something that's more compatible
Right.
of what's around and what you're looking for too.
Mhm. Perfect. Thank you. Marinella, would you like to share some thoughts around your cards?
Sure, I chose gamification
Mhm,
and reward substitution, which have a similar underlying theme around incentivizing towards the behavior that we want to see.
mhm,
So gamification is really around, making it more fun, and the substitution is giving them something to similar things.
mhm. Perfect. Yes, it sounds really good. So from my side, I added goal gradients, so people will work harder to achieve a goal as the goal gets closer. And that's in relation to the gamification part. So I envision something around sustainability goal or game so that users know how close they are into achieving a level of sustainability, for example, based on the how sustainable their shopping experience was before, and the closer they are to being achieving that goal, the more they will be interested into buying more sustainably. That's more or less the idea. And then I'm not sure if I added self-signaling. Okay, yes. People behave in ways that reinforce the type of person they believe themselves to be, even if no one else is around them to witness it. So that's kind of like using some kind of marketing or wording and using AI in this case to personalize experience of users, showing them um, messages, images that tell them, look, you are sustainable. We know you want to be sustainable, that you care about the environment, and therefore we suggest you this sustainable clothing, for example. So it's kind of like leveraging these different elements on how they perceive themselves to help them achieve their future self, kind of. Good. And then also payment for effort. This is around people place a greater value on services and products if they can see the amount of effort put into them. So um, it's a bit tricky, but the idea is essentially to tell users in some way how much CO2 is actually emitted by this process of reordering and returning and rebuying, so that they kind of care a little bit, so if they know, okay, do you really need to, like, think it twice, if you're not being careful, please just order if you really need it, and something around that. So that's the idea. So we got this point, and this is really amazing because it's the cornerstone of this toolkit. Now, what we'll do is focus into the design implications of these principles. And the first question is, what can we do to combat this current behavior or leverage the behavioral economic principles identified? And since this is the same part, I would like to now kind of quickly just merge it so that, let me see if I can just do it in one go. Okay. So that we start ideating on this. Just 1 second. Okay, so it's not really helping. So in any case, we're going to focus now on section design implications. And the idea is that we focus based on these principles that we collected, describing what is the current behavior and what is a future state. We start now ideating how these principles could translate into things in our design that can help our users be more sustainable. So what can we do in an interface um, to, as a rule or as a guideline, to help them be more sustainable? So let's make this as general as possible, as you like. Just do not think much if it's right or wrong. Just try to think how you could leverage those principles to create a design rule to make a sustainable app more appealing for users. So let's spend 5 minutes on this, and then we can wrap up in the group. You can always look at the back here at the bottom for an example for you to see. So here essentially it's like describing how that feature may be, what feature could there be, and in the ideation phase we will then start ideating how that may look like in a digital interface. I'm gonna add 2 more minutes to this because it seems to be very interesting. Perfect. So time's up. Let's see what we identified here. So who would like to start?
I can go.
Mhm.
So I started to Marinella's point. I started with reward users with points when they make a purchase through the app.
Mhm.
I also wrote provide a clear product overview and makes the app different than others with enough resources for users. So users don't have to do the work themselves, it's already presented.
Mhm.
I also added provide enough resources about the products and the environmental effect to make the decision easier for users.
Mhm.
Also create accountability measures on the app to encourage users to see progress.
Mhm.
Those
Cool.
are the ones
Very
I wrote.
nice. Yeah. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Perfect. Thanks a lot for sharing.
Thank you.
So, I'm not sure, Marinella, if you would like to discuss something or. Okay, so I would like to briefly present this. One of the ideas I came up with was create a sustainability goal gradient based on users' shopping items. And I think this can be connected to this reward suggestion to create points. So create like levels of sustainability and then help them somehow gamify their experience. Then provide personalized marketing that reflects users' personality and aspirations to be more sustainable, kind of inspiration. And then place sustainable products close to each other and abundant on the mobile app so that it's easier for users to shop sustainable ones. Then set CO2 mitigation option as the default. They have less barriers to do that. Then show users in an impactful way how much CO2 is generated by returning and reshopping. Then show users how many people in their city or country are shopping sustainably. In this way, they feel like, okay, so many people, big numbers, are being sustainable. Let me also be sustainable, kind of. Then provide users with opportunities to retake their sustainability commitment. And this is essentially if they fall off track, provide opportunity to easily come back to sustainable patterns. And finally, present sustainable products in a prominent and easy to shop way. And so this is to reduce friction and ease shopping then the sustainable product in the app. So that would be that part. Now what we'll do is be a bit more concrete on how this design may look like. So the idea is how, if we have already a product in place, like those we have here as inspiration from Esprit, Zara, or H&M, how can we optimize the current product or how we can ideate new features based on these design implications? So essentially is if you would like to use emojis or pictures from the internet or just a sticky note, feel free to do that. Just be creative on how you would like to do that. But now what we want to do is be more specific on the features that we would like to have. So as a reference, again, you can go back to this exercise. So here they will, for example, indicate on, okay, divide the checking account into envelopes so that people can easily save money for different purposes. And then they provided this picture of the app where people could see how they are saving in different areas. This is just a way, how you present this in the interface. So this is more or less what we would like to do here. If you have access to, I mean, you can also draw here on Miro, but we're also limited in time. But I would say just describe the idea or the feature, or if you can find an image on the internet that could describe your idea, just feel free to insert it here. So let's dedicate 5 minutes for this, and then we do the wrap up together. Let's go for it. So I added 1 more minute, then we can wrap up on this. Okay, perfect. So who would like to start?
I wrote two, which is the dashboard to show progress.
Mhm.
And also another feature is a points meter, just to show people how much they're making off of points whenever they make a purchase.
Mhm. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I was thinking about something similar. So with these points, kind of showcasing how they rank in comparison to other users, and that would mean that users would accept that they are presented in those in such a ranking thing, and also that they would use a pseudonym, so they could use their real name or they can use another one or use an avatar. The idea is to show this kind of ranking. Then also this progress gradient um, that we can show users where they are in their path, very similar to the dashboard you were mentioning. and then provide kind of like give names that can inspire them to towards this path that they're taking to be more sustainable. And then this image of IKEA is essentially to showcase relevant sustainable products in the above the fold in a prominent way, so that can inspire users or give those products more space in the page while they're scrolling. And then finally, provide like sustainable products right next to each other so that users perceive them as abundant and kind of the default in the app. And this image is essentially to showcase users how they perceive themselves as being sustainable and shopping cool products that help them in their path. So that would be the idea. So this is the tool. This is using behavioral economics principles to design products and interfaces that help users into into the achieving the goals that we want them to. So now I would like to finalize this session, do a brief retrospective on what you liked about this, what you learned, what you think lacked in this session, and what were you longing for. So what did you expect um, you wanted to find in this session? So let's dedicate 2 to 3 minutes to this, and then we can wrap up the session. Good. So let's go for it. All right. Cool. Perfect. So thanks a lot for your feedback. I will go through it after the session. And thank you so much also for your time and your interest in this dynamic. Um, So as I mentioned before, I will make available this video for your reference if you're interested, and I will also share it in the Miro community. Yeah, so is there any comment or feedback you would like to share with us now before we go?
No, but thank you. This has been very useful.
Great, awesome, thank you. Perfect, good. So I wish you a very nice rest of the day. Take care, and we stay in touch. Hopefully see you next time in the next workshop.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take
Bye.
care.